Alright squad, I changed my mind. I'm all about the Bullworker now. Alright, it's all that Isochain stuff. We don't do that anymore. That was so 2021. We need to have a talk about this. But let's rewind the clock. I can't believe I'm about to say this. 5 years ago, when I was really starting to delve into all the isometrics and stuff and trying to figure out why ISOs work the way they did, and I ran across the Bullworker. And two things happened. One, I ran across Machisimo, your YouTube channel, bro. I really love your channel, so I'm gonna give you a shout out here. And you did comment on a video a while back, so I didn't forget. Then I also ran into a photo of Bruce Lee using the Bullworker, or at least tinkering around with it. I don't know how into the Bullworker he was. We know he was into the Isochain, but you don't really see too much of Bruce Lee using what was called back then the tensilator. But let's have a look at this. It is a fantastic isometric tool. This ran me about a little over $100. I got this a couple years ago. I think I got this in like end of 2018, 2019. If you want to know where to get one, you can actually check out my link in the description box. I really don't have anything negative to say about this. I think it's fantastic, and I think it really shines with chest work. Ironically, the Isochain kind of suffers a little bit, not totally, just a little bit. So what is this? Let's go over this real quick. So the Bullworker was invented by, hopefully I'm not butchering the name, Gert Kobel, who was a German engineer. It was manufactured and marketed in the 60s, which, go figure, was around the time that the OG Isochain was starting to get pushed out by Joe Weider. And believe it or not, this blew up too. The Bullworker blew up, sold millions back in the 60s. Like I said earlier, it was originally called the tensilator. There's a telescopic spring-loaded tube inside. So right now I have the black spring, which is the toughest spring. These are the other two that came with it. One is like this really gray one, the white one, so this is the easiest one, this is the mid-tier, and then the black one that's in it now is the toughest one. They actually have different sizes too. I really feel like I'm selling this, but I promise you I am not. This is a smaller one, but they have one, I think this comes out to like here. I know Machisimo on his YouTube channel is all about the Bullworker, kind of like how ours is about the Isochain and isometrics. His is just about the Bullworker. So if you really want to get well versed in the Bullworker, go check out his channel. Dude is really good. He has a great physique and he knows what he's talking about with the Bullworker. Go ahead and check him out. So the spring-loaded tube has cables attached to both ends, and by pushing them together like this or pulling them apart, anyone can achieve a strong isometric traction. And part of the reason that it became so popular is because it worked. Just like the Isochain, it worked. The OG one I'm talking about. It worked. It was a workout that people could feel. Remember in that video with the virgin soreness, if you haven't seen that one, here's a link right here, go ahead and check that out. You can still get DOMs, you can still get sore off these isometric exercises, alright? Not to say that soreness is the be-all end-all of having a successful workout and feeling it, but people realized it was very, very effective. There were results that were very visible. And just like with all the OG isometric tools and exercises, it was really convenient. You could train at home, you didn't need a gym. It could be stored anywhere. I mean, look at this thing, it's super portable. In fact, it comes with its own bag. Hold up, I think it says it on here. Since 1962. Go figure, athletes saw impressive, fast results with the Bullworker. Now, for those OG squad members that have been around with the channel from the beginning, y'all know exactly why they saw results fast with the Bullworker, right? For the same reason the Isochain. Because isometrics puts that strength on quick. The strong spring mechanism inside, it allowed them to exploit the loading reflex. If there are new squad members and you're not familiar with the term loading reflex, I'm actually gonna recommend that you pause the video real quick and check out this link right here, or check it out after the video. Definitely check it out after the video if you're unfamiliar with the term. Loading reflex is very important with the Isochain and the Bullworker. You could exploit the loading reflex with both the Bullworker and the Isochain during a static hold because the muscles were pushing against something real. The force at the spring is trying to push back. For those that have a Bullworker, y'all probably know what I'm talking about. It was really that spring tech though that was really genius about the Bullworker. Gert Kobel really know what he was doing. I really hope I'm not butchering that name. By nature designed to encourage harder work, stronger contractions, and quicker gains in strength and size. Strength and size. Why? Because you can still train the same as far as the Isochain now in certain aspects because of what? The time under tension, right? As long as we're holding the contraction at the desired level of force, and we're under the contraction time for the right amount of time, if those two factors are in place, the response to the body, whether it's strength or hypertrophy, will occur because forces are measurable with this. But unfortunately, sales started to take a dip in the 80s. It was for a couple reasons. The primary reason, and for those that have a Bullworker, probably realize this pretty quickly, the leg workouts blow on here, okay? There's not really that many leg workouts that you could do, and the ones that you can do are really awkward. There's like this inner thigh one where you put this in between like your legs, and you know what I'm saying, like the hip adductor machines you see at like Planet Fitness and all that. The same concept. Doing deadlifts, there's like a odd setup right here that you guys can see, but it's not really optimal. So it suffered from the lack of effective leg workouts and heavy back. Measurability was another issue. Now, when the Bullworker is mentioned in Paul Wade's isometric manual, when he said this, I was like, well, no, because there's a measurability thing right here. See it? So I don't know if you can see this, but there are numbers here from 0, where my finger is, all the way up to 120. For example, I'm gonna put a little bit of force here, so I'm gonna try and move this. It's like this, push, push, push. Whew, what was that? 150. That was more of a fly motion here. I really like this for chest, by the way. But anyway, the measurability is here. Now, the thing is, this is just a number. Like 115 what? It's great to know that there can be a little bit of progressive overload, but the measurability is still kind of question mark. Let me explain. Like, the Bullworker does have a power meter, but it's misleading. And this is no, listen, this is no shade. I love the Bullworker. This is no shade whatsoever. The reason why it's misleading is because of Hooke's Law. What's Hooke's Law? I don't think we've covered that on the channel yet. As you're squeezing the spring, it becomes exponentially harder to move it any further. It's uneven spring mechanics. Think of like a resistance band. So as you start to move into the higher resistances, it's not like weightlift where the weight is constant throughout the entire range of motion. With the resistance band, it gets progressively difficult the more you go through the range of motion, with the highest part of that range of motion being the highest forces that resistance band produces. Essentially, the uneven spring mechanics, they're making it very ideal for generating power. I mean, I can see that very clearly, especially after learning a lot more through the isometric manual. Power generation with the Bullworker is definitely there. There's nothing anyone can say about that. It's fantastic for generating power. But unfortunately, real accurate measurements based off of the spring, it's impossible. And for that reason, a lot of the coaches, you know, they started to realize that back in the 80s, and they kind of backed off on it. And a lot of athletes did too, which is, it's kind of unfair. And they called it nothing but a fad. You know, the convenience, the size of it is fantastic. The loading reflex is something that's pretty difficult to get. It has it, but the measurability is where it really lacks because of this spring. The Isochain checks out on all three. Now, again, this is not a video to throw shade on the Bullworker. Really, I don't have any shade to throw. I love this thing. I don't use it much, but for my last program, I was starting to circulate this in for my chest work because the Isochain does lack on chest, at least for now, until I really believe they're eventually going to make a chest press version of the Isochain. Sign me up, I'll buy it. Convenience, the loading reflex is great. It's just no measurability. The Isochain literally checks off on all three, which is why it's been a fantastic piece of equipment the last, dang, has it really been 18 months? I guess it has. Unlike the OG Isochain, which lacks loading reflex because we don't know the power output, there is no measurability, but it's convenient. And the Bullworker, which has loading reflex, which is very, very important, and convenience, but no accurate measurability. The only other thing that will come even close to this is a power rack, which I actually have in the back room there. And power racks are very effective. They're just not convenient because of the size and space. Not everybody could just throw a power rack in their house. You know, that's not really convenient. If I had to rate everything, this is just a personal opinion. You know, I'm not saying that my opinion is absolute whatsoever. I'm not one of those guys. But if we were rating everything out of a 10, being the best and 1 being the worst, I'd put the Isochain. This is not me this has nothing to do with me being affiliated with Dragon Door at all. I'm sorry guys, it gets a 10. It does. It gets a 10. The Bullworker, I would say gets at most it gets an 8. And the reason why, I still like that thing though. I mean, I don't think it deserves any less than an 8 personally. Why? Because it's only lacking in the back, the heavy back, and the legs. And other than that, the only other area where it fails, in my opinion, y'all might have something else, if you do, comment down below, it lacks in the measurability. Because it varies the higher the forces go with the spring. So it's not accurate. And then I'd put Power Rack at 7. Because it has everything, but it's just not convenient. Personal opinion. Hey, what are your thoughts? You know, I wanted to throw this video out because I did want to make a Bullworker versus Isochain video for a while. And as I was reading through the isometric manual, I forgot that Paul Wade actually had a section on that. And I was like, oh, I think I should cover that. But yeah, let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. If you liked the video, be sure to drop a like, go ahead and comment. And if you're not yet part of the squad, hit that subscribe button. Join the squad with us. We'll see you in the next video. Peace.